guys, this is Just Out, and I would like to welcome you to the Girl Do It Yourself podcast. Hey guys, and welcome back to the Girl Do It Yourself podcast. I'm your host, Just Out, and if you're watching this through video, I apologize. I come to you looking a little homeless. We had snow days here in Alabama, which I am a Northeastern girl. I born and bred in the Northeast. You know, winters are the reason we don't live in the Northeast anymore, honestly. They are nothing new, but when you're have gotten used to 50, 60 degree weather, getting down into the 20s, and we actually had a small accumulation of snow. Actually, we were on the lesser end we were too far north, actually, for the accumulation that happened down south, even at the beach. By the time I release this episode, I will have already run my half marathon, which is at Gulf Shores, which is the beach. So I am hoping the snow is gone by then. But anyway, so I want to throw a quick disclaimer at the beginning of this episode before I get into it, because I want to make sure that it's very clear that I am not a licensed practitioner. I am not giving health advice or medical advice. I am simply a mom with experience that I would like to share, because I feel like a lot of people might have experienced something similar to me. What I'm going to talk about today is actually what my initial entry into this world of non-toxic, organic, healthy lifestyle. And I honestly started it close to 7 years ago, and then started to look into everything and realized it is very overwhelming, very dare I say scary. And I stopped, and I am kicking myself now for doing that. I wish I had done better during my pregnancies and all that sort of stuff, but nothing I can do about it now. But if I can share my experience, maybe I can help other people get into this, look into things more by making it less scary, less complicated, more approachable, all that kind of stuff. So I'm just a regular mom. I don't have a medical degree. I do technically have a science degree, and I am technically a certified Intel analyst. So I guess between those two things, unrelated to health and wellness, but by using the skills that I learned in grad school and in the military, I guess technically I can kind of qualify as a scientific research analyst. I don't know. We can go with that. But so really the main topic I want to talk about today is artificial food colorings, food dyes, partially because I touched on it in my last episode, and it's a topic right now with the FDA banning red dye 3, but also because I have been talking about red dye 40 since my oldest son was about 2. And that was how long ago? So he's 7 now. So it's been 5 years since I was able to, without a shred of doubt, tie his behavior, and I'll talk about that in a second, but tie behavioral reactions directly to his consumption of red dye 40 on more times and more occasions than I could ever count. So when he was 2, I'm talking like a lollipop that he got for free from the bank type of thing. And when you finally see it and you realize what it is that is causing certain reactions, you can't unsee it. And it becomes incredibly... Sorry, I just looked down at my phone and just got a request for one of my first in-home design consultations. Anyway, so what I was saying, so red dye 40. So he would have, like I said, a lollipop. I'm talking like a dum-dum, like those little lollipops, right? He would have a dum-dum that the lady at the bank gave him for free as a kind gesture. We would get home, and this was when I only had one. I might have been pregnant with our second at the time, and he would have these, I don't even think the word meltdown is strong enough. He would just lose it, absolutely lose it. And at the time, I did not understand. And this is a whole other topic, but I did not fully understand the concept of ADHD at the time. I didn't realize that I have ADHD. I did not realize that one of the things that I struggle the most with my ADHD is actually emotional dysregulation, and becoming a mom and hormones and all those things have just amplified these things in me. And so I did not handle his meltdowns well. I would yell at him. I would send him to his room. I mean, this is like my 2 and 3 year old. My current 3 year old, my youngest, who's currently 3, has a totally different mom when it comes, because his behaviors are so similar and not as bad because we've completely removed red dye and all artificial dyes from our home at this point, but he still has these types of similar behaviors. But anyway, so I would send him to his room. I would yell at him. I look back and I regret a lot of the ways that I handled it, but I didn't know better. I didn't know what to do. I was overwhelmed. I was exhausted. I was pregnant. And I had this child who was just screaming and throwing things. And my instinct was to try and comfort him about it. I would try to give him a hug because I could tell that it was really almost out of his control. And there's this very distinct time that I remember him looking at me and screaming, go away," which he didn't have many words at the time, so that was pretty big. And I remember the look on his face when I started to move away from him, and it was pure devastation. And I could see in his eyes that he was scared. I mean, he was scared. He could not control this behavior. He did not want to be doing this. It was like this animal inside of him that was like coming out. It was truly like a second personality. And we started to suspect it, and we started to remove things, and the obvious things became that we immediately started to remove the obvious things. And like one of his favorite foods at the time were those mini muffins, blueberry mini muffins, and we were so proud of him. He would eat 2 to 3 packs in a sitting, and we were like, oh my god, look how much food he's eating. Come to find out, full of red dye, full of other just junk. I'm gonna limit this to artificial dyes in this episode. And then one time when he was a little bit older and we really already knew like red dye would send him for a loop, we took him to pre-K soccer, and he actually ended up lapping a kid that he was sort of racing. But because he lapped him, he was now behind the other kid, catching back up to, and he perceived it that he was losing. And apparently he's very competitive, like his mom. And he had a 30-minute meltdown in the middle of this field, could not snap out of it. And it was, the memories came flooding back of when he was younger. It was exactly the same. Speaking of those muffins, we have not had those muffins in a long time. We had started making fresh muffins. Well, we had used a new company, and in the mix of the blueberries was red dye. And that was like when I had enough. I was like, never again. Now don't get me wrong, we make exceptions, but over the years, we have explained to him, and he knows, and he has been saying this for years, I can't have red dye. Red dye is definitely the worst trigger of these behavioral issues. Since then, we have now removed all artificial dyes, and we explain this to our kids. They are made from petroleum. They are petroleum-based products, and they're like, what is that? And we're like, it's similar to the same stuff that we put in our car. And they're like, oh, ew, they grasp it at a very simple level, but we don't hide it from them. We don't just tell them no. We explain it to them. And my 5-year-old said once, I don't want that because I don't want to put that bad stuff in my body. And while I'm a little afraid that they're going to become these little know-it-alls, I'm a little worried, but at the same time, educating them on this has made the transition into healthier food so much easier. I don't even know how else we could have done it, honestly. Explain to them that we are keeping them healthy and not feeding them poison. We use the word poison because, essentially that is what it is, slow moving poison. And so I am going to read off of, I took some notes. I have some facts, and I want to make sure that I'm giving it all exactly the way it's supposed to be. Because I want to make sure I get you guys the information correctly. So, let's see. And here I am recording this episode, and one of my best friends that I asked if she'd be willing to be a guest, her response just, sometimes I have the best people in my life and I forget it. I love you, Kathleen. Okay. She might be a future guest. She's a mom. She is a badass lawyer, and she has been on her own personal wellness journey and in a different way. That is what I want to talk to other people about, is how they got where they're at, like what drove them there, what were the hard parts for them. And for me, it was overwhelming, and there's so many narratives in our society that a lot of this goes against. And some of the people that I'm going to mention, you're going to notice sort of a political trend. I am not going to currently go into politics at the moment. It's just, I'm not quite there. To be honest, I've never really paid a whole lot of attention to politics. Our journey, our wellness journey, whatever you want to call it, started over the summer. And my husband and I, we listened to a podcast that opened our eyes to some stuff that we didn't realize. And that was kind of our moment of like, now it is officially time for us to take our health seriously. And so since we decided it was time for us to focus on our health and wellness and transition into the non-toxic world, I'll call it the world, RFK Jr. switched sides or whatever. And it started to become part of the Trump campaign. And like I said, I really am not going to go too deep into politics. I don't like arguing with people, and I don't feel strongly enough in any direction just yet, because I like to believe that I understand a lot of different perspectives, and it's like so alienating, and I don't want to make my topics alienating. I want them, like, if you disagree with what I'm saying, that's perfectly fine. Feel free to bring me facts. I'd love to discuss things, but only if it can be like person to person, not aggressive, nothing like that, because this is important information for everyone. And I want to keep things kind of level and welcoming for everyone. So I don't really care about politics. I don't really care about that kind of stuff. I just want to talk about how we, as moms, as parents, as individuals, can bring health into our homes and our lifestyles in a way that is accessible for everyone, approachable, not overwhelming, all that kind of stuff. So, okay. So getting back to red dye 40. Red dye 40, also known as Allure Red, is one of the most commonly used artificial food dyes. It's a petroleum-derived synthetic compound that gives foods, beverages, and cosmetics their vibrant red hue. Now keep in mind, red dye 3, which I imagine is pretty similar to red dye 40, was just banned in our country because it is a known carcinogen and causes cancer. Red dye 40 has also been banned in other countries across the world for many years. So when I want to circle back really quick. When I first started realizing what was going on with my oldest, when he was about 3 years old, I brought this to the attention of our multiple pediatricians. And they rolled their eyes at me. They gave me the, oh yeah, new mom. Some other parents have maybe noticed some reactions, but there's no scientific data. There's nothing to back this up. We don't live in the States where these pediatricians were anymore, but I wish I could go back and be like, ha, I told you, and it's kind of sad because I feel like our doctors should have been advocates for their patients instead of supporting a system that is broken. But that is also another topic. So red dye 40, a couple of other colors, artificial colors to keep your eye out for. Yellow 5, which is called tartrazan. Yellow 6, also known as sunset yellow, if it sounds nice and pretty. Blue 1, brilliant blue. Blue 2, indigo carmine. Red 3, erythrazine, which is the one that was just banned. And green 3. I'm sure there are others. These are some of the biggest ones. There's another yellow, if I remember correctly. And where are you going to find these? Well, you're going to find them in tons of things geared towards kids. Skittles, M&Ms, lots of candies and snacks, lots of drinks, basically anything that's not white or clear at this point. And there's also things that it is in that are white or clear, places you would never have expected to find it. And then outside of food and drink, you can also find it in some toothpaste, vitamins, and children's medication. When we first realized this, we found it very hard to find any sort of Tylenol or ibuprofen or any of those kinds of things that didn't have it in them. Now, we don't really use that medication anymore. That is another path that I'm still working my way down. We did start using Hyland's 7 years ago, when my oldest was a baby. Even at that time, I felt that pull to lean more into a homeopathic pathway of medications, and it works. I take it for myself when I don't feel good. I take children's homeopathic Hyland's medication. My kids have never liked Zarbee's, but if your kids like Zarbee's, I think that's a pretty good option as well. And there's lots of others, but yes, so keep an eye out on even the weirdest things that you would never guess they would put red dye in, or any of the other dyes. Here's a shocking stat. Over 15 million pounds of synthetic dyes are used in the US annually. This is from the Environmental Health Perspectives, and they did an article on artificial food colors in the United States. That's terrifying. So recently, and I haven't watched it yet, I should have before I made this episode, but your girl only has so many hours in a day. But there is a new documentary out on Netflix called To Die For, the documentary. I did listen to a podcast episode with the couple who made the documentary. They are parents of young kids, and they took it upon themselves to go and interview lots of people about this. So don't take my word for it. Please go out and do your own research. Watch this information from other people's perspectives. Learn what other people have to say about these things. It is everywhere if you know where to look. And take it however you wish to take it. So, all right, moving on to a couple of scientific findings that have been correlated to artificial dyes. Behavioral concerns. Wow, look at that. 5 years ago, when I said my son has a severe behavioral reaction to red dye 40, and doctors rolled their eyes at me, there have now been studies specifically correlating artificial food dyes to ADHD. And I think, this is just a personal opinion, I guess, is that boys seem to be significantly more at risk of these severe behavioral reactions. But there have been a few studies that have been published that link red dye 40 and other dyes to increased hyperactivity and behavioral problems in children, particularly those with ADHD. All right, allergic reactions. Artificial dyes can trigger allergic reactions such as rashes and inflammation. So that's in sensitive individuals. My husband actually has, since I've known him for 15 years, when he has something with red dye 40 in it, and it used to be even chocolate, like Hershey's used to have it. I think they've taken it out. But back in the day, it used to have red dye 40 in it, and to make it browner, I guess, he sneezes 2 to 3 times. It must trigger some sort of antihistamine reaction. I don't know. We just know that happened. So when we realized that our son was reacting, it kind of was like, well, I guess this makes sense, right? Okay. And that was a study done by the American College of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology. And then gut and immune health. Synthetic dyes can disrupt gut microbiota, crucial part of our immune system, and contribute to inflammation. Inflammation is being caused by everything these days, which is also terrifying. And then long-term risks. All right, looking at this. Emerging research suggests some artificial dyes may have carcinogenic properties in large doses. Benzidine, found as a contaminant in yellow 5 and red 40, is a known carcinogen, according to the Center for Science in the Public Interest in their study, Food Dyes and Cancer Risk. So take all of this as you will. Please, like I said, do your own research. Go out there, look things up. And then here are a few other people that I have been using as sources of learning. And then I take what I learned from them, I go and look it up, and also I use common sense. Does that seem to make sense? Does what they're saying feel right? I mean, I just listened to clips from an episode from one of these podcasters, and the guest she was interviewing, I don't know, just sounded a little off. But then again, you don't know what you don't know, and it's important to, I think, be open and understanding. So the first person that you can look up and follow on Instagram is the Food Babe. Her name is Vani Hari. She has led multiple boycotts and has had, what is it when you sign a petition? Most recently, she had a petition that I think over like 40,000 people signed to request from Kellogg's to remove the artificial dyes from Fruit Loops. Low-hanging fruit, honestly. I mean, these are foods that the people who truly are already caring about this have already taken out of their children's diet, but that's not the point. The point is they've done this already for most countries. They've already removed synthetic and artificial dyes from their products for other countries. We are not asking them to revolutionize their product. I mean, they already have the recipes. They already have the manufacturing lines making the same product that's dyed with, I believe, like watermelon juice, beet juice, things like that are natural. And so she is a great person. She's on the forefront of a lot of this, and she is super passionate, and she's a huge advocate for creating better health and wellness for American families. She has a book called Feeding You Lies and a few other cookbooks. Full disclosure, I have not read them yet. They're on my list of things I'd like to do, but she is a great resource, so go check her out. The other one that I have enjoyed listening to, her name is Courtney Swan, and her podcast and Instagram and everything is called Real Foodology. I'm going to have links to all of these in the show notes, but Courtney Swan, she covers a lot of health and clean eating. She's a nutritionist and a self-proclaimed food activist. She was actually raised by a crunchy mom, ironically. And when she went to college, she boycotted the health food stuff and started eating all the junk food and suddenly realized she felt like crap and came to realize how much politics and corruption goes into our food industry, which is also linked to our pharmaceutical industry. So she goes down a whole bunch of those rabbit holes. Very interesting. She interviews interesting people and talks about different companies and different places to go where you can get better options. So Courtney Swan, another great resource. And then the last one that I've been using a lot, her name is Alex Clark. So I have got to be honest. Alex Clark, if you ever see this, I am sorry, but honestly, I really didn't think I was going to like your podcast. I thought I was going to be very annoyed, and I was actually pleasantly surprised. I actually love the way that she interviews. She is very honest, very open, and the way that she interviews her podcast guests, she asks them questions that she probably already knows the answer to, but she wants her audience to be able to hear these answers, and she asks them in very non-condescending, non-judgmental ways and creates a very good atmosphere on her podcast for learning, for taking in information without ulterior motive, whatever you want to call it. So anyway, I actually just had I just spent 6 hours in the car last week, and I listened to Alex Clark for those entire 6 hours. So my brain was exploding by the time that I got home with all the information, but great place to start for learning about any rabbit hole that you'd like to go down. She kind of touches on most of them. So I'm pretty blessed in the sense that most of my family is very on board with our decisions that we're making. They support us. They don't necessarily fully understand everything that we're talking about at the moment, but they want to, they're open to it, minus one in particular, which I don't think that's uncommon to have even people that are close to you feel like you are directly judging them or criticizing their life choices when you say, no, we're not having that in our house anymore. We're not eating that. Our kids aren't eating that. They almost get offensive, or they almost get offended, and they will get offensive. They will get defensive about it. And I mean, that's just something I think, if that's something you're concerned about, you need to decide whether your personal health or your family's health is more important than other people's opinions and judgments of those decisions that you're deciding to make. And that's just Jess Dowd's semi-confrontational opinion on how to handle that. I mean, like I said, for the most part, we've been really lucky. And if you're not, then hopefully you're better at navigating those types of situations than I am, because I found it very triggering. But needless to say, that didn't necessarily go well, but I don't care, because the decisions I'm making are the best decisions. The decisions that we have started to make are the best ones that we can think of for the health of our kids and their futures. And to me, that's all that matters. So yes, I hope you don't run into that. And then, so here are some suggestions on if this is new information to you. Aside from looking at a couple of the other resources and people that I just mentioned, the best thing you can do is walk in your pantry and flip something over and look at the ingredients in the back. It's scary to look at what's going on the back, because a lot of them you might not even know what they are, which is probably not a good sign. They say if you don't know how to spell it or read it, then you shouldn't be consuming it. I think there's some caveats to that, because there are some important minerals and stuff and things of that nature that are really hard to understand what they mean. But for the most part, but on a label, I should have brought one up with me to demonstrate. I don't think I have anything up here. Here's my NeuroGum. I don't know if you've ever had NeuroGum. Super awesome. I'm a big fan. Helps me focus when I just need to chew. And then it also has, I think, caffeine in it, vitamin B's, theanine. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, so here you can see the ingredients maybe, and artificial dyes will be down at the bottom. This doesn't have any, so you didn't see any on there, but they will be one of the last things listed. And it will say red 40, usually a color and a number. And if you see any color, any number, don't get it. Don't give it to your kids. Don't put it in your body. I mean, trust me, it is not easy to do. And you might be that mom at that birthday party that everyone else is rolling their eyes at you. And we make an exception at times. Halloween, unfortunately, is just wild. What we did is we went and bought a few alternatives, and we let our kids kind of exchange them. There's a bunch, the Switch Witch, there's a bunch of different things that people do. I can't plan far enough in advance to even make that work or happen. But I mean, what I did is my kids put all their candy together. We went through all of it. We took all the red dye completely out, separated it, and we let them have a few pieces of some of the less bad stuff, some of the chocolate and things that are still not great. And then we let them trade some of it in for the better versions of candy that we had purchased ahead of time. Birthday parties, depends. My oldest is now capable of having some, and kind of realizing how it's going to affect him, and he can almost mentally prep for it, I've noticed, and it comes out a lot less aggressive. Hey baby, what's up? This is my puppy Ellie. Come here. Hi. Easy baby girl. Okay. She is 7 months old, so she is still a little bit of a firecracker. Okay. Hello. I am, yeah. Shit, thanks. She's inside now. Okay. My neighbor had called to let me know that said puppy was running around the front yard. All right, so what was I saying? Okay, a couple of how to recognize how to avoid artificial food dyes is not super difficult. It's going to be in like fair food, a lot of like stuff that you're going to get for kids that are out and about. But at home, anything that's organic, which I've mentioned, organic will disclude all artificial food dyes. Anything that's labeled naturally colored or colored with natural ingredients is good. Keep in mind though that there might be other bad ingredients, but for the purpose of this episode, I'm not going to go down the rabbit holes of glyphosate and seed oils and all those things. And you can also use natural dyes at home, like beets, turmeric, saffron, blueberries. My 7-year-old just made his own snow cone yesterday by squeezing strawberries out into a pile of snow that he had scraped off the ground. And he said, this tastes so much better than a snow cone because it's flavored with real fruit, making a total like food nerd. But so anyway, it is in my opinion that this is something that should be important to everyone. And while it requires a little extra thought and process, it requires you to kind of go against the status quo. It is in my opinion that it is incredibly worth it. And I think it was Courtney Swan who said the choices that you make as a parent either set your child up for health, set your child up, what did you say? Set your child up for sickness or health, something along those lines. And, touching back a little bit on politics, just because all of these things have been pulled into politics, you can't really fully separate them anymore. When the first time I heard RFK say, we are poisoning our children through our food supply. Whoo, that hit hard. It was one of those things that I have suspected for a really long time, and I was hoping I was wrong, and I was almost putting off looking into because I didn't want to know the answer. But it's gotten to the point now where I can't deny it anymore, and I think we're going to get to a point as a society where we are going to have a big eye-opening experience. So if you think your kid is experiencing any of these types of reactions, if you had a similar experience as me and my family, let me know. I'm happy to answer questions. If you feel that I misspoke on anything, again, please let me know. I am just a mom, and I am just driven to kind of bring to light some of this information in a way, like I said, that is approachable and doesn't feel overwhelming. So I hope that you're able to kind of ingest some of this information and maybe make baby steps. I mean, I'm talking like you don't have to go into your pantry and throw out everything that you find that has artificial food dye. That is not what I'm saying. Just don't buy it again, right? Let your kids finish it. And I mean, be open with them. Explain to them, listen, mommy just learned something new. This box of cereal has really bad products in it. It has things that are making us all sick. And so we are not going to get it again. And there are alternatives out there that still taste good, still look fun, and are not full of poison. Look into those. This is coming from a girl who grew up on Pop-Tarts, can finish off a sleeve of Oreos. I mean, I haven't in a long time, but I mean, I was the junk food queen. And somehow I've managed to make it out relatively healthy, but trust me, I understand it is not easy. I walked through a grocery store today and I'm tempted to want the things that I know taste delicious. And, our kids put up a fight on a few things, but like I said, we were honest with them and we included them in the process. And I think doing that definitely made it significantly easier. But these hard decisions are not, well, they're hard. They're just hard. And I'm trying to figure out how to end this. Well, I hope you found this episode interesting. I hope you found it educational. I hope it is encouraging you and inspiring you to look a little deeper and start maybe digging, because everyone has to have their why, their reason to step out of their comfort zone and go down a new path. And for me, my children are my why, my reason. And I think you'll find that there's a lot of parents who that is why they've gotten into it. Other people were diagnosed with a disease that they never thought they would have in their 20s or 30s. Other people, it's maybe a family member, diagnosed with cancer, things like that. But if you look around, something is wrong. I mean, again, not political. Something is off. People are sick. Everyone has brain fog. I mean, it's scary to realize where our population has gotten to. And there are a number of reasons why. And just trying to figure out even a small portion of that is what I'm currently in the process of doing. And if I can even help just one family make better choices or take that leap into the new diet or the taking something out, if it's just going to help one person, then that's enough for me. I hope that I get a chance to help more people, but it's crazy. Okay. It's crazy, guys. It is trust me, I get it. It is crazy, but that's okay. I'm pretty good at handling crazy. So we'll just all handle crazy together. How's that sound? All right. So thanks again for listening. Shoot me a message, find me on Instagram, anything like that. And until next time, stay creative and remember, you can do it yourself. We got this.